The National News Desk, locally covered, nationally connected.
We inherited a mess, and we've done a great job, and we continue to, and our country is going to be stronger than ever before.
A preview of President Trump's nation address tonight, what we expect him to discuss as the first year of his second term comes to an end.
So we have released this enhanced photo earlier today, and I want to be clear that this is a person that we would like to speak with.
Zeroing in on a second person in Providence inside the new photos of someone who may know or have come into contact with the unidentified person of interest in the Brown University mass shooting. And then Warner Brothers Discovery makes a decision, what the board believes is the best offer on the table for a new direction. Good evening. Thanks for joining us. Welcome to the National News Desk, America's News Now. Here's a look at the White House, where in a few hours, President Donald Trump will be making a primetime address to the nation tonight at 9 p.m. Now, he's expected to talk about his accomplishments in the first 11 months of his second term and also talk about what we can expect from his administration in the new year. And this afternoon, President Trump was at Dover National Air Force Base in Delaware, along with Secretary of War Pete Hegseth, for the solemn, dignified transfer of 2 U.S. National Guard members from Iowa killed in Syria last week. Before the ceremony, President Trump met with the families of Sergeant William Nathaniel Howard and Sergeant Edgar Brian Torres Tovar. During his first term in office, President Trump described the ritual as the toughest thing I have to do as president. Well, the House is trying its hand at finding a health care cost solution for millions of people who get health coverage under the Affordable Care Act, or Obamacare. As national correspondent Matt Gelka explains, a group of Republicans is joining with Democrats to try to fix and find a temporary fix.
The House's health care bill has opened up some rifts within the Republican Party. The bill does not include any extension of expiring Obamacare subsidies, which could cause a premium spike for millions of Americans. And House Speaker Mike Johnson wouldn't bring the issue up for a floor vote.
I am pissed for the American people. This is absolute bullshit. 3/4 of people on Obamacare are in states Donald Trump won. So maybe, just maybe, everybody should look at this and say, how do we actually fix the health care system?
Lawler was one of 4 Republicans who broke with his party and joined with Democrats on a discharge petition forcing a vote on a 3-year extension of the tax credits.
Even some Republicans agree that action is urgent.
I have not lost control. These are not normal times. There are processes and procedures in the House that are less frequently used when there are larger majorities.
The House bill focuses on cost-sharing measures and the ability for small businesses and the self-employed to buy into association health plans. The Congressional Budget Office assessment offered up a mixed bag on the bill, predicting the government could save $35.6 billion and Obamacare premiums would see an average yearly drop of 11% over a 10-year period, but also that anywhere from 100 to 300,000 people per year could lose health insurance over the next decade. The separate vote on extending expiring subsidies likely won't happen until the new year.
My prediction is with a sufficient number of Republicans signing on to this that it would pass the House. I don't think the fate in the Senate will be very good, however. I don't think the Senate would pass it.
And the Senate already took a vote on an extension last week, and it failed. If Congress breaks for the holidays without passing a bill, it almost certainly means health care costs will go up in January for millions of people on Obamacare.
And Matt, what was the deciding factor for the group of Republicans to join Democrats and try to force a vote on an extension?
Well, they'll say it's about their constituents, and really it doesn't matter if it's a red district or a blue district. People have Affordable Care Act insurance, and millions of people will see prices go up because of that. But the midterms definitely play a part too. The 4 Republicans who signed on to the discharge petition are in very competitive districts. Kamala Harris carried 2 of them in 2024, and the other 2 were decided by 3 points or less. So you'd have to think that answering to voters in the midterms plays a large part here.
In Washington, D.C., Matt Gelka, thank you. Also on Capitol Hill today, former special counsel Jack Smith held a closed-door deposition with the House Judiciary Committee. This testimony comes a day after we learned the FBI told the DOJ they did not have probable cause to raid Donald Trump's Mar-a-Lago estate back in 2022. Democratic lawmakers say the GOP is trying to find ways to prosecute Smith, while Republicans allege Smith's investigation was political.
I'm sure the majority is using this in whatever way they can. More likely is to selectively release parts of the transcript to create some false inference of improper conduct.
This was political. This was about going after the Republican Party, and most importantly, it was about going after our candidate for president.
Smith denies his work was politically motivated. According to NBC News, Smith told the committee his team found, quote, proof beyond a reasonable doubt that President Trump engaged in a criminal scheme to overturn the 2020 election. The case against the president was dismissed last year before it ever came to trial. It is day 5 of the search for the Brown University mass shooter, and newly released photos you're seeing here on your screen show an individual who investigators say was near the person of interest. The Providence Police Department is now asking for the public's help in identifying and speaking to that person, again pictured here. Now, this comes as detectives are sifting through hundreds of tips and taking DNA swabs. The FBI describes the suspected gunman as 5'8" with a stocky build.
The more difficult work here is now they're going to take gathering the evidence, looking at these videos, comparing it to cellular analysis, and then see whether it can identify him using the coat or his physical gait, his walk, see if someone can provide information.
There's a $50,000 reward for information aiding in his arrest. There are ongoing questions, meanwhile, about whether the FBI's initial focus on the wrong person of interest delayed the investigation. Also, whether the school had proper security camera footage where the attack unfolded. The Providence mayor announced that another survivor was released from the hospital today. 6 remain hospitalized in stable condition. The shooting left 2 students dead and 9 injured. Naveed Akram, one of the 2 suspected shooters at the Bondi Beach massacre in Australia, was formally charged today with 59 indictments. He's still being treated in a New South Wales hospital.
A 24-year-old Bonnie man was charged with allegedly committing a terrorist attack at Bondi Beach, where 15 people were lethally shot and 49 were injured on December 14, 2025.
Police say Naveed, along with his father, Sajid Akram, who was shot and killed on Saturday, opened fire at a Hanukkah celebration on the beach over the weekend. Naveed now faces life in prison if convicted. Police said earlier today they were waiting for him to be in a lucid enough state to be charged. Well, since October 7th attacks on Israel back in 2023, there's been a notable escalation in anti-Semitic attacks globally, from vandalism to violent assaults and threats against synagogues and Jewish institutions. Our fact-check team looked into the political climate, especially in Australia, leading up to this particular terrorist attack.
The global Jewish community is still reeling following the deadly anti-Semitic terrorist attack in Australia. Let's go to Emma Withrow from the Fact Check team. And as you know, Israeli officials were quick to cast the blame on the Australian government.
Right.
After looking into this, explain the reasoning behind these accusations.
So it seems like it mostly stems from the fact that Australia officially recognized the state of Palestine. So in a statement in September, they said, quote, Australia recognizes the legitimate and long-held aspirations of the people of Palestine to a state of their own. And this was part of a coordinated international effort to build new momentum for that 2-state solution that we've talked about a lot in the past. But Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu read a letter that he sent to the Australian Prime Minister saying in part, quote, your call for a Palestinian state pours fuel on the anti-Semitic fire. It rewards Hamas terrorists. But then Australia's Prime Minister, he rejected that assertion when asked about it in an interview recently. So there's both sides of that.
Something that is for certain is that this is not an isolated incident. Tell us about the history of anti-Semitic attacks in Australia.
Yeah, Australia, obviously, this isn't just the first anti-Semitic incident they've had. It's been kind of a steady 2-year escalation. So according to the Jerusalem Post, what started after the October 2023 Hamas attacks as kind of graffiti and threats against Jewish schools and businesses in Australia grew into arson attacks, terror investigations, and government crackdowns. So that rising pattern ultimately led to this deadly Hanukkah shooting at Bondi Beach, which is the worst anti-Semitic attack that we've seen in Australia's history, actually.
Just horrible. Just horrible. It's been a horrible week. Emma, thank you so much. And for more on this Fact Check Team topic, including links to Emma's sources, scan the QR code on your screen or visit thenationaldesk.com.
In other news now, Nick Reiner appeared in court briefly today and waived his right to a speedy arraignment. He is charged with 2 counts of first-degree murder in the fatal stabbing of his parents, Hollywood director Rob Reiner and producer Michelle Reiner. The arraignment date, has been set for January 7th. In the meantime, Nick Reiner is being held without bail. His attorney, Alan Jackson, has this message for the public.
We ask that during this process, you allow the system to move forward in the way that it was designed to move forward, not with a rush to judgment, not with jumping to conclusions, but with restraint and with dignity and with the respect that this system and this process deserves and that the family deserves.
If convicted, the 32-year-old may face life in prison without parole. Prosecutors say they're still weighing if they will seek the death penalty and will consider the family's wishes. At least one person is dead as record flooding devastates Washington state. Officials confirm the death of a 33-year-old man who was removed from his vehicle completely submerged in water. The driver apparently drove past road closure signs yesterday into about 6 feet of water in a farmland ditch area that remains flooded. This as hundreds of thousands of people in Washington and Oregon are without power today after heavy wind and rain last night. There were several reports of fallen trees on homes following, of course, days of rain that we've been covering. Wind gusts as high as 112 miles per hour were reported.
Have you seen anything like this before?
No, I haven't. No, not at all. Not like this. Nope.
Millions of Pacific Northwest residents are still under flood watches. President Trump's National Guard deployment in Washington, D.C. will continue for now after a federal appeals court stayed a lower court ruling blocking the implementation of the Guard. Today's decision acknowledged that the administration has a strong case for its appeal, noting D.C.'s status as a federal district rather than a state. The overall lawsuit remains pending as the appeals court considers the case. Medical aid in dying, also known as physician-assisted suicide, will be available to New Yorkers next year. Governor Kathy Hochul announced she'll sign an amended bill in January. The law will then go into effect 6 months later. Now, it will apply to the terminally ill with less than 6 months to live, but groups like the New York State Catholic Conference are firmly opposed. According to the nonprofit Compassion and Choices, medical aid in dying is already legal in 12 states and Washington, D.C. Just last week, Illinois Governor J.B. Pritzker signed a law authorizing the practice in that state. It'll take effect by next September. Coming up, the new step the White House took today as the administration prepares for the rollout of new savings accounts for children. Plus, double check your luggage if you're flying this month. We'll show you the holiday-related items you cannot bring on the plane. Plus, how to protect your packages from porch pirates as theft rises during the holiday season. We'll be right back. As Americans struggle with the high cost of living and grow frustrated with the president's handling of inflation, some say, the White House is launching the website for Trump accounts, an initiative designed to give kids a leg up later in life. The National News Desk, Atra El-Nashar, has a look at how it will work.
The Trump administration gearing up for the rollout of Trump accounts, launching this new government website Wednesday, trumpaccounts.gov. Trump accounts are tax-deferred savings accounts for kids, similar to a 529 plan, but run by the federal government.
Under Trump accounts, Wall Street's success becomes Main Street's success, and vice versa.
The creation of these accounts were included in the president's One Big Beautiful Bill Act, and they'll work like this. Starting July 5th of next year, parents of U.S. citizens under 18 can open one of these accounts for their child, either when they file their taxes or through an online portal. If a child is born between January 1st, 2025 and December 31st, 2028, the federal government will contribute $1,000 to their account.
Parents, family members, employers, and friends will be able to contribute up to $5,000 to each Trump account each year. By contributing the maximum amount each year, the Council of Economic Advisors estimates that a child's Trump account would be worth more than $1 million by the time they turn 28.
One of the main criticisms of Trump accounts is that it could exacerbate the wealth gap. The more money parents put into their kids' account, the bigger their return down the road. There's also no income cap for those initial deposits, so taxpayers could be paying $1,000 even to the children of millionaires. When the child turns 18, the account is turned over to them. If they deposit nothing after the government's initial $1,000 deposit, they'll have an estimated $5,800 after 18 years, $20,700 if $250 per year is added, and more than $300,000 if the maximum $5,000 per year is contributed, according to government estimates based on historical averages of the S&P 500. In more than 18 years, we'll see these accounts start to bear fruit. In the immediate term, many American families are struggling with the high costs that come with raising a child. In Washington, I'm Atra El-Nashar for the National News Desk, America's News Now.
Electricity and heating costs are rising nationwide. Since last September, Americans' electricity bills increased by over 7%, according to CNN. A new report from the National Energy Assistance Directors Association predicts heating costs will increase by 9.2% this winter. Part of that is because colder weather is forecast. And energy costs are also causing a brewing political problem for big tech. Their data centers suck up a lot of energy and drive up utility costs wherever these centers are located. Several of November's election results centered around these costs. Tech lobbyists are running ads to characterize these centers as job creators. It's getting the attention of some in the nation's capital.
Do you believe that these guys, these multi-billionaires, are staying up nights worrying about what AI and robotics will do to the working families of our country and the world? Well, I don't think so.
Electricity was positive for the economy. The internal combustion engine was positive for the economy. The computer was positive for the economy. And AI will be positive for the economy. And it won't cause disruption.
According to Politico, many of Meta's ads are centered in Washington, D.C. and 9 state capitals, suggesting a focus on lawmakers rather than voters. Well, more than 8 million Americans are expected to take domestic flights over the holidays, a 2.3% increase from last year. TSA says it is ready for the influx.
We do expect a significant increase in holiday travel during this holiday period. We cover about 15 days over the 3 holidays that we celebrate together. But we don't expect any major rushes through the airports.
So listen up, because I learned something here. Agents showed these items that can't be brought into the plane's cabin: snow globes, wine openers with knives, that makes sense, and even a cast iron pan cannot be brought into the cabin because it could be used as a weapon. All right, officials request passengers bring any Christmas gifts in regular bags before wrapping because agents may have to unwrap the gift anyway to check it. The agency reminds travelers to adhere to liquid ounce rules, pack wisely, and of course, arrive early to the airport. Officials also encourage travelers to double check they have a real ID and even enroll in TSA PreCheck. Russia is warning it will keep trying to take land from Ukraine if the current peace talks fail. Russian President Vladimir Putin said at an annual meeting with top military officers today that Moscow prefers to achieve its goal of, quote, liberating its historical lands by military means. Ukraine and its Western allies say those goals are a violation of sovereignty and an act of aggression. President Trump has been pushing diplomacy to end the nearly 4-year Russia-Ukraine war, but his efforts keep hitting conflicting demands.
At this moment, Russia wants to get it. And the problem is they'll want to get it ended, and then all of a sudden they won't. And Ukraine will want to get it ended, and all of a sudden they won't. So we have to get them on the same page.
Ukraine is demanding security guarantees, which Russia will not accept. It is looking likely that Paramount's hostile takeover bid to buy Warner Brothers Discovery will fail. Today, the Warner Brothers Discovery Board of Directors unanimously told their shareholders to vote in favor of Netflix's bid to buy the company. Paramount says they offered WB Discovery several offers before going straight to shareholders with a deal that is worth about $18 billion more than Netflix's offer. Still, the board says Netflix will give current shareholders more stability moving forward. Shareholders have until January 8th to decide. Certain Kroger cakes are being recalled because of an allergy risk, so listen up. 4 decorated pound cakes by Ucrops Homestyle Foods sold at Kroger stores in Virginia and West Virginia could contain undeclared soy. Now that can of course be dangerous for people with allergies. You can see what those cakes look like here on your screen. Customers can return them to the store for a refund. Coming up, a coin collector says more than 100 valuable silver dollars disappeared from his luggage during a flight on Delta. The police department's explanation right after this. We have reporters all across the country in your neighborhoods covering issues that matter to you. We're taking the pulse of America, and we start in Maine, where officials say a man was killed and another critically injured in a house explosion.
That explosion leaving this home with just its chimney standing. We spoke with one neighbor who was one of the first to rush over here. He tells us he saw that man, now in critical condition, burned from head to toe.
And I actually felt it in my chest, in my house. I couldn't believe it.
Dan Dyer lives about 1.5 miles up the street. He just finished watching Monday Night Football when he heard an explosion.
My sister-in-law lives over that side, and I know she has gas, and it was my first fear was it was her place.
Dyer says his grandfather built the home, now left in pieces.
And it's not exactly clear how this explosion happened. The state fire marshal's office tell us they're still investigating.
Autumn Paradise has lived in Clovis since she was a child. She said she gets nervous when her packages get delivered.
I go out there instantly and get it.
Even so, she still has been the victim of a package poacher.
It didn't cost that much, but still, it was my package.
According to security.org, in 2025, 31 million Americans have had a holiday package stolen so far. So some tips to keep that holiday mail safe: consider sending your packages to a local storage locker or a P.O. box. Maybe set up a door camera. Or the best option, take the opportunity away. Try to schedule those deliveries for when you're home.
Not a golden journey for Darren King, who says he's minus silver.
It just eats at me, and it's so frustrating.
King says he was running late for the first leg of his trip in November, and to avoid a lengthy TSA screening, checked the coins. From his window seat, he saw his bag on the tarmac, thought that strange, and took video.
I had a bunch of Morgan silver dollars, some of them more than 100 years old.
Then a chilling discovery by the time of a frosty Yukon arrival. All coins but one gone. He filed a report with Salt Lake Police and a claim with Delta. Police say no evidence a theft occurred. A few coins had fallen out of a piece of luggage and workers returned them to the bag. Delta says it has zero tolerance for baggage pilferage and it completed a thorough investigation. But King's keepsakes, he says, are still missing.
Coming up, the huge jackpot that's up for grabs tonight in the latest Powerball drawing right after this. The next Powerball drawing is tonight, and things are getting pretty interesting right before the holidays. No one won the jackpot again in Monday's drawing, so it's now expected to reach $1.25 billion by tonight. This marks only the second time this year a jackpot north of $1 billion has been up for grabs. And even if the winner takes the money as a lump sum, it's still $572 million before taxes. The odds of winning, however, are more than 290 million to 1. So you're saying I have a chance. That does it for this edition of the National News Desk. Join us again tonight after President Trump's national address for more on his vision for the country. I'm Taylor Murray.